Another very fatal genetic disease is known as Tay-Sachs disease. So I've picked a question regarding that disease for us to work through together. Question says, Tay-Sachs disease is an autosomal recessive disease caused by a malfunction of the enzyme hexosaminidase A. The defect leads to the buildup of fatty deposits in nerve cells, causing paralysis followed by early death. Based on the pedigree below, what is the probability that the couple's first child will have Tay-Sachs disease? Assume that the man's mother and the woman's father are homozygous wild type, i.e. unrelated with no family history of Tay-Sachs disease. Okay, so we have to make sure we don't miss any important details in the question. Let's start with this part. It tells us to assume that the man's mother, this man's mother, and the woman's father are homozygous wild type. So the man's mother is big A genotype. The woman's father is also big A genotype. The big A is the wild type allele of the gene, and because it is homozygous, we've got two of the same letters. Now, one of the key things we must know is the genotypes of the man and the woman. By the way, this individual is affected by the disease, so his genotype is small a genotype. And this individual as well. Okay, so how do we figure out their genotypes, the man and the woman? First, let's start with the man. Obviously, he doesn't have the disease, right? Because he's not shaded in. So one of his alleles must be big A allele, right? And his dad must have the same allele because he's also not affected by the disease. Now the question is, what will be the version of their second allele be? Big A or small a? What we are interested in is the probability of the man's kid having Tay-Sachs disease. So the man, as well as the man's father, must have the version of the allele that has been affected, which is the recessive allele, the lowercase letter a. Similarly, for the woman, she doesn't have the disease, so she must carry the good version of the allele, or what we call the wild type allele of the gene, which is the dominant big A. Her mother is also carrying that version A because she's not affected. Now, what will be their second allele of their genotypes? Big A or small a? It is the small a. Again, can you see why? We want to know the probability of the woman's child having the disease, so we gotta assume there's some type of flow of the defective allele A down the family tree. We've now figured out the genotypes for each of the individuals. Another key element that we need to know is the probability that each one of them will have the genotype. Let's start with the man's father. First thing to do is to make a cross between the parents here. The parents are actually carriers because one of their children is affected by the disease. When we do the cross, we can see that there is two over three chances that the father has big A, small a genotype. In other words, there is 2 over 3 chances that the father is a carrier. Notice we don't count this genotype because we already know that the father is not affected by the disease. As for the man, we follow the same method, using the Punnett square and make a cross between his parents. So the man's probability is actually 1 over 2, or 1/2 chances. The other side of the family. Let's start with the woman's mother. Again, after doing the cross between the parents, we can see that the mother's chance of having the genotype is 2 over 3. Again, we didn't count this genotype because the woman's mother is not affected by the disease. Now we do the cross between these two. It turns out that we get 1 over 2 probability. And lastly, don't forget this. We need to know the probability of the child having this genotype or having the disease. So we look at the parents. The mom, the dad, and it is 1 over 4 probability that each child that the man and the woman have will get Tay-Sachs disease. Now we know the probability of each individual's genotype. We cannot use them to calculate the probability of the child having Tay-Sachs disease. And the way we calculate the probability is applying the product law, where we take one probability and multiply by the other. So 2/3 times 1/2 times 1/4 times 1/2 times 2/3. And we get 144, which can be reduced to 1 over 36. So that is the probability that the child of the man and the woman will get Tay-Sachs disease. Okay guys, just a quick favor, if you find this video helpful, please like this video or share it, and consider subscribing to this channel because it will make the videos become more discoverable and in turn help more students around the world. Thanks.